The reason why I think VMware has a very broad set of solutions that cut across zero trust, what I call end-to-end zero trust, is that ZTNA aspect is an important element of it, but it's not the end of it. That focuses very much on our ingress security model of zero trust, which is where a lot of the focus has been. How do I secure my endpoints? How do I make them, from an always implicit trust to a trust but verify concept? But that's just really focusing on the ingress connectivity into a data center or a given application in the cloud. But there's other things to be concerned about. I mean, look at an attack like SolarWinds, and certainly I don't want to pile on like everybody else does and say, oh, if you just did zero trust, SolarWinds wouldn't have happened. That's not what I'm implying. But what I'm saying is the concept of zero trust is applicable in these different places, because the challenge with SolarWinds is the behavior of the attacker looked like normal SolarWinds related traffic. And SolarWinds is a network management system. Its basic function is to monitor everything on the network. And so it operates somewhat like in godlike mode or admin, supervisor type mode for all devices on the network. And if it's using its defined protocols and ports to communicate with hosts on the network, and it's using its pre-configured, ports, even if you had internal firewall segmentation on it, you would think, oh, this is normal SolarWinds traffic, so it should be permitted. The problem is you forget that if an attacker finds a way to embed an attack on that system and masquerades using the SolarWinds protocols and ports, it's going to look like legitimate behavior from that particular server point of view. Now, how can the principles of zero trust make a thing like SolarWinds less of an issue? Well, we spend all our time talking about zero trust on endpoints and the edge network, but the ingress is not the only problem we have to worry about with zero trust. We've got to think about our egress connectivity. And one of the areas that people often don't think about in the concept of zero trust is, what am I doing to deal with my data center, server infrastructure, cloud infrastructure? How do I control who can talk to whom there? And that's where things like VMware's NSX microsegmentation can play a big part, and identity-aware firewall policies. It's also places where you can do things like, hey, should I maybe think about what type of egress traffic is permitted from this host? Like, should my network management server ever talk to the public internet for any reason? Maybe the answer is no. Or maybe the answer is the only place I should talk to is this software update server or whatever the case may be, or patches or whatever the case may be. And then I think if we go beyond the network segmentation aspect, there's a whole nother area where VMware adds a lot of support and capability to zero trust. And that's because, zero trust for most companies is very achievable if we focus on our modern applications, web-based applications, things that use SAML and OAuth, modern protocols, modern auth protocols, modern web standards. Those things are relatively easy to zero trust enable. But, many of our customers, many companies that are on that zero trust journey, those modern web apps are just a small percentage of their overall portfolio. So how do you deal with a lot of these legacy applications that you want to apply zero trust principles? There's many different things like NSX microsegmentation that can lend a hand in zero trust enabling some legacy apps. There's things that you can do for modern applications in the data center. We made acquisitions of Lastline, which is a network detection and response to look at behavior of network communications to identify potential risky behaviors that can catch things like machines talking to machines that shouldn't be, even though they're permitted, or talking in odd patterns or at odd times, those types of things. There's capabilities like the acquisition we did of Mesh 7, where you can start to think about a service mesh concept where modern application construction can have a sidecar proxy that sits alongside of the application and does authorization and entitlement for given connections to your applications. You're calling in my APIs. Are you a trusted user to access those APIs? I mean, you start to look at all the different places where zero trust principles can be applied, and you recognize that those software-defined perimeters out to endpoints is one piece of the puzzle, but true end-to-end zero trust to lock everything down and make it very tight and secure, it's a very complex beast. that is going to require organizations to go through a lot of transformation on how they define and implement their security policies. I know there's a very long-winded answer, but hopefully it adds some insight.